Now I got your number. Sorry. You were right.
I was just doing my intro. This is staying in. Okay, now we're starting, and this is totally staying in. Okay, so this time let me get through my intro. Welcome everybody to another Facing Time conversation. My name is Jared, and I am so excited because I am here with a very special guest and friend today for today's conversation. She is a New York City-based food writer and host for the Michelin Guide. She is also the creator of Michelin Guide's popular Eating Off Duty and writes for VinePair, PureWow, and Thrillist. She is the host of United States of Spirits on Spirits Network and Drive In and Dine on MSN Networks. She was also featured on GoDaddy's School of Hustle, which ended up being one of their most viewed videos. She was named New York City's top 10 food Instagram accounts to follow in New York City by Refinery29, and one of the top 100 food Instagrammers by Zagat. She is also part of PureWow's The Coterie and Tasting Tables, The Tastemakers. I love that. You could follow her on Instagram at Marisel Salazar. Welcome, Marisel.
Thank you.
I am so excited you're here.
Thank you so much. I am super thrilled that you reached out. It's it's been kind of like a crazy, tumultuous time for all of us, especially considering the food industry, which is my first love, that I work in, it's been a struggle, and it's been a struggle for everybody. But even working with people like you, there's been this like little ray of hope, and I'm a little bit excitement to see like how we're going to evolve through this all, especially come out like a newer, better restaurant and food industry and food media as well. As someone that's working on, the editorial side of food media, it's been so important for me right now to like really pivot the work that I do to focus on things that are really meaningful and that would actually help somebody. It's like, I was talking with a friend, it's like, what's the meaning of being, in food media right now, if I'm talking about the garnish of a dish at, a Michelin star restaurant that might not even exist in a couple months. So, chatting with you, and being on Facing Time is going to be like, at least I think, super positive and supportive of the industry that we both work in. And, people know me from the Michelin Guide, they know me from these television shows that I host, and just kind of tapping into my nature as a writer. When we were chatting before, I thought, you know what? Jared works in the food and restaurant industry, and he's out here putting, faces to names and really, putting some people on the map. But we don't know a lot about you, Jared. So I was kind of curious, if you don't mind me like flipping the script a little bit, maybe you could share with us like who you are and what you do. Cause I think it's kind of cool.
You didn't waste any time.
No.
Thank you for asking. Because you sort of jumped, I was going to ask you the same thing. I'm 28, I wish I was 20. I'm 38 years old, and, my whole life, first through sixth grade, for example, I went to public school, and I always felt like an outcast. The only time a kid would come up to me is to make sure that I knew, they knew that I knew I was an outcast, that I was different. And I knew that I learned differently, which I now know is actually a great thing, that I didn't learn like everybody else. And yeah, but I never felt good, and none of the kids really made me feel good. So it was my choice. In seventh grade, I was home taught, but then I also never went to school. I never went to college. And wow. I put a lot of pressure on myself because of that. I felt I had to work harder. I had to do more things. I had to have bigger successes, which ultimately ended up to bigger failures because I just put so much pressure on myself. Right. And so I started actually working at the bank, and I ended up working in banking for about eight and a half years. And it was miserable. I really, I don't know what other words to describe it. It don't get me wrong, it's great. It's just not for me. And right. It was like dog years. It's like every year felt like 7 years. And I'm just not the corporate, suit and tie, 9 to 5, riding the subway every day. I can't do it. I felt like I couldn't be myself. I couldn't express myself, right? Everything is so cookie cutter and regulated. And I ended up quitting finance, and I opened up a bakery. So
what?
Yeah. So it was called La Cheesecakerie, and it was a French American bakery. And it started with cheesecakes. I was inspired by my mom because my mom during Thanksgiving would always make cheesecake. And I love cheesecake. And she used to always tell me how, oh, it's so easy. So I actually took the inspiration from her and I sort of developed my own cheesecake recipe, which ended up being this French-American bakery, La Cheesecakerie. Then we ended up doing macaroon. We ended up doing all these different pastries that I just came up with, but all self-taught. And it really...
Incredible.
But you know what? That taught me so much that if you're passionate enough and you love something enough and you don't doubt yourself, you can literally achieve almost anything. And I ended up realizing, well, wait a second. I'm rebranding the company and we were going to do more wholesale, so we weren't going to do as much retail. And I'm starting to think, well, wait, I could probably help other people. Why not? Why would I just sell product and continue doing what I'm doing when I was already exhausted because it was early morning. So I started Food and City and to show people the new pastries that I was doing. Oh, would you buy this? Do you like this? And it started to just blow up. And then I started getting invited from restaurants to go in. I'm like, oh my God, free food? Are you serious right now? I cannot believe this. I never thought in a million years, right? So, and then I fell into, that's kind of what gave birth to Food and City. But really, Food and City became a company about 5.5 years ago. And my whole life, I tried so many different things and it never really panned out. And then I found my purpose. And that my true purpose, my true happiness is Food and City. So I get to actually help people and work with people that I inspire, that inspire me, and that I hope I inspire and help their businesses grow as a restaurant advisor and social media consultant. And I get paid doing what I love. It's everything to me. And then I think what has been really difficult, and everybody has their story, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody, especially during confinement. About seven months ago, I got divorced with someone I was with for over 8 years.
Wow.
And then I had to find an apartment. I had to figure all this out. And then the moment I found an apartment, when I didn't have a place for like 3 weeks, my father got really sick, had an unsuccessful heart procedure. A few weeks later, had a successful major quadruple bypass. And then the day after Christmas, he got really sick and almost died because he was back in the hospital with an infection. And then the beginning of January, he finally came home, and then COVID.
Oh my gosh.
And then COVID happens, and in a 24-hour period, I felt as if my purpose in life was then just stripped away from me, Food and City. Because I lost everything. Right. Where I know now I temporarily lost clients because of COVID. Right. I didn't lose my purpose in life.
Right.
But it really just sent me down a deep, dark place, right? So that's when I realized I can either be a victim.
Bam, thank you, ma'am.
Right. I'm like, you know what? I can either be a victim or I can have 100% control of my life and not make any excuses. What am I going to do? And that's where I created Facing Time, because I'm having conversations with people like you. Yeah. Where I'm just like, why can't I share these conversations with other people? If I could just impact one person in the process, right?
It's so on the money that you said what you said, like and I always say this, when things are tough, with every breakdown, there comes a breakthrough. The fact that, like you were able to pick yourself up and turn this like huge negative, you literally turned 2 negatives into a positive, and that's math.
Touche.
Yeah. And it's completely wild just because, a lot of people would perhaps maybe succumb to like this feeling of malaise and, I'm just going to wait through this once it's all over until like, I'm going to wait for someone to save me. And you decided to save yourself. And one of the biggest turning points of my life came from, it was in 2014, way before I was a food writer. People always ask me, hey, Marisel, how did you become a Michelin guide writer?
Yeah. So
how
what
did
is
you
your
become how did you become a host of a television show? How do I get on TV? And it's like, all right, well, do you have some time?
Feel like it's easy.
It's so easy. I just did, and a lot of people wrinkle in time their story to try to make it concise. But I think it's like the bit more like traumatic pieces are the ones that are pieces that we can all truly learn from. And, similar to everyone in quarantine, so many people have lost their jobs right now. Like, even for me, I've temporarily lost publications because of budget cuts. You know, I've lost private clients, you know, because they're all restaurants. And I decided, all right, how do I turn this negative to a positive? But, you know, to jump back to like the first worst thing that ever happened to me professionally, you know, I studied communications as a research position back when I was in school, you know, and I minored in nutrition, and I went to Cornell University, and I took a lot of hospitality classes, you know, lived in Spain for a little bit. I'm originally from Panama. I've lived in Hawaii and Japan. So I've always had this like food immersion in a very diversified way my whole life, but without really even recognizing it. And it wasn't until like I lived in Madrid for a time that I realized I wanted to dedicate my entire life to telling stories about food. Where did this come from? Who made this? What was the process? Okay, sounds very romantic and sexy, where every, you know, study abroad student has that like very cliche cultural epiphany once they come back from Europe, and they're like, I'm woke now. So, you know,
I'm reborn.
What I've learned. Exactly. I'm reborn. But I truly was, though. But again, it was like, okay, well, how does one make a living as a food writer? Like, what an oxymoron to be a starving food writer, which is like very much the case though for some people. So, you know, I graduated from school, and, you know, growing up in a single parent household, I was like, all right, you know, I can't become a food writer. Don't know how that's going to make me money. Don't know how to do it, because that didn't really exist as an option. So, you know, I took a job in consulting, and I was, you know, every day I was like chatting with C-level executives of Fortune 500 companies and talking about employee retention and InfoSec, like
Did you enjoy
security. Did I enjoy it? No. It definitely taught me a lot of invaluable lessons that, hand to God, that I use right now as a writer. And that was really selling and pitching myself. You know, the first day of my first job out of college, I had to go call the CFO of Coca-Cola North America to get him to agree to take a meeting with my boss. Like, also, why would they give like a 21-year-old like this task of like, just go call the CFO of Coca-Cola North America and convince him to take a meeting with your boss? And I was like, what? I mean, I did my research though. I researched the guy, LinkedIn, stalked him up and down, called him, pitched him on this meeting, and he was like, okay, great. Yeah, of course I'll talk to your boss. And I was like, wow, that really worked. You know, so there was something to be said of like my time and experience working at a corporate role. I later moved on to become a web analyst for a small healthcare treatment advisory firm in Washington, D.C. and Georgetown. And then that's where, like, you know, the big bad thing that happened, you know, 2014, my company at the time went through this massive round of layoffs. And it was, to me, the worst thing that had ever happened to me professionally and financially, you know, because I didn't come from a background like, oh, okay, I can just, you know, ask my parents for money. Not that they wouldn't have given it to me, but to me, that just was not an option, because why would I take, you know, from, at the time, we didn't have like so much. I couldn't just be like, I'm going to chill and like just take some time off. So I was shocked, you know, for a little bit. And I remember within the first hour of my getting laid off, was already sending out resumes for new web analyst positions. But then this little thought creeps into me. And I was like, you know, you always wanted to become a food writer. And I had been like the total like moonlighting as a food writer while I was working these corporate jobs, you know, to small publications, reaching out to chefs in the DC area, taking meetings. And I thought, you know what? This is your time to try to make this work, Marisel. Like, this is your time to try to become a food writer and give it a shot. Because if it's not now, then it's going to be never. Because I never would have voluntarily left my job and left a security and finances. But this also goes to show you how insecure and how unstable everything is.
Do you know how much? Do you know how many people you're speaking to right now?
And that's the whole point. Yeah, I really hope that I am, because it's like
I'm touched by what you're saying, because that's exactly why I created Facing Time, because exactly what you're talking about.
Well, it's funny. There was and out of the blue, I had reached.
While you're talking, I'm just going to open my window a little bit. It's a little
hot. For sure. Get that filter. I had reached out to this food critic, Todd Kleiman, formerly of the Washingtonian. He was my favorite food critic, and he gave me some really great advice. And he was like, Marisel, you know, food writing is going to be really hard. You know, you're going to get a lot of no's. But he said, like, what do you do if what you love doesn't love you back? You do it anyways. And I've carried that in my heart this entire time. So, you know, while I was unemployed in 2014, you know, and at that time I had been living in New York City, working remotely for this company in DC, I started pounding the pavement, Jared, you know, reaching out to any editor from any publication that I admired, you know, if he or she would take a coffee meeting with me, if I could go to their office and kind of just like be a wallflower and like, you know, shadow them, like an externship or something. And it was really through that promotion of myself and just, you know, trying to have a fearlessness, pitching myself, that I started getting meetings with editors. They said, oh, okay, you know, we're not hiring right now. I can't give you a job, but pitch me, you know. And that's how I got started. I started pitching to these editors. So I reached out for coffee meetings, and little bit by little bit, you know, I started writing for more and more prestigious publications. And it was like big fish eat little fish over the course of several years. And the publications got bigger and bigger. My name started getting out there. People started taking an interest in me, saying like, wow, how are you doing, you know, how are you food writing as a single person, freelance, self-employed? And that's also simultaneously like similar to your social media presence. It started getting bigger and bigger. Restaurants started reaching out to me. Refinery 29 wrote a piece on me, and that was like, you know, one of the top food Instagrammers. And it turned into writing for a Michelin guide. It turned into, you know, networks reaching out to me, asking me to host television shows. And it was something that I never thought would happen, but I realized there's never been a plan B. There's only been a plan A. So with people who are maybe lost their jobs right now, maybe you're scared about losing your job, just also realize that nothing in this life is, you know, coronavirus has gone to show like there's no sure thing in life. So if you're faced with, you know, okay, I really don't like my job and I just got unemployed anyways, like if you're going to have to work hard. There's no doubt about that. Like the way that you busted your buns and worked really hard, like you're going to have to work extra hard. I've never worked more in my entire life working for myself.
Same here.
But why bust your butt for somebody else if not for yourself? Why kill yourself for somebody else's dream if not your own?
So what's resonated with me is there's no plan B.
There's no plan B.
And I love your story, by the way. I think it's amazing and it's inspiring. And what happened to you in 2014, if that didn't happen, you may not have found your true love.
Yes, exactly. Like I'm so grateful for that.
And you don't plan it, right? It's like when we can plan for a big life change or event, we're sort of prepped for it and we're ready. But when we don't plan and we're forced to have that life change, no one likes it.
Right, exactly.
We're unprepared. We're not ready for it.
It's questions that I've been asking chefs and bakers, like what can we, like you and I, as people in food media, also in the social media space, it's like, how can we help you? You know, I was just on another call with, you know, this incredible chef from Seattle. His name is Eric Rivera. He runs Auto, and from San Francisco, David Mayfield of K-Fico. And I asked him, hey guys, what can food media and social media folks be doing right now to help you? Yeah. And it was really beautiful, this conversation that we had, because they were both saying, it's like, tell the stories that matter, you know, talk about what's happening in the restaurant industries and the fact that consumers and diners, you know, in order for things to be fair and equitable, will need to pay more for the, you know, for food when dining out. And I was curious. I was like, oh, you know, Jared works on the social media space. He's a restaurant advisor. Like, what do you think about that? I
think now restaurants and supporting partners such as marketing outlets, PR, influencers.
Yeah.
Restaurants who need supporting business, like the PR and marketing they're going to start seeing those that are doing it for the dollar and doing it for the true passion.
Right.
And that it's going to become a problem for people who are just in it for the business.
Right.
And I get we need to make money. We want to increase the profit margin. I get we want to, you know, gain client. Look, with Food and City, yeah, I want to get clients back. You know, I want to make money. I want to get back to where but it's leading with the true passion. And when it comes to marketing and public relations and influencers and what you do, right? Because you're part of it, what I do, we need to support restaurants and not forget that they're hurting maybe more than we are. Well, you know, the same, you know, it's all relative, but we need to support them and work with them And not just, okay, you know what? I'm going to, for example, simple. So a PR company charges $5,000 a month.
Right.
Do you really think a restaurant's going to come back and say, the person that owns one restaurant, they're finally getting to open the doors, are they really going to charge $5,000? And actually, if the PR company, maybe it's a little taboo to say, but if the PR company went to the restaurant and say $5,000, I'd be insulted.
Absolutely.
Like, really? We have the deciding factor if the economy comes back in the culinary industry in New York. Correct. We make the decision. How are we going to handle it?
Absolutely. I mean, even as food media, like I get asked, like, you know, how do you decide what you write about? You know, when people pitch you in the Michelin Guide or for other publications like VinePair or Thrillist, and I get pitched hundreds of times a day. Even today, like even as we're talking, I've gotten like 10 pitches so far on my phone. I see them, boop, 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 boop.
But how do you decide?
Yeah, honestly, like for me, it's like I write what I care about, and I've always stood by that. And like, yes, of course, there's you might have to write some fluffy pieces to get to like the true meaty, juicy story that you want to do. It's like, you know, the restaurants that eschew brunch, but you know, they put brunch on their menus because they have to make a profit margin. Well, it's like, okay, at this point, similar to what you're going through right now, you know, you have no clients, you know, everything has been, oh my, you're gonna see my stepfather.
Hi.
Okay.
That's amazing.
I told you I was recording. I'm in a similar position as you, like because of coronavirus and, you know, the restaurant shutting down, we're part of the same ecosystem. If they go down, we go down. So that's something we should surely not forget. But it's also, it gave me, again, this sense of like second clarity, because it's like my second layoff, so to speak. And it's like, you know, I truly only want to write what I care about and what is important to me. And I started writing about, you know, and pitching stories to my editors about undocumented workers and people who are, you know, the voiceless people that are in the food chain and in the restaurant chain, and what a new restaurant industry would look like if we were to give them equitable wages. You know, if all along the food chain and the restaurant industry chain, like what would it look like if it was fair, if it was equitable? You know, what would it look like if we started caring more, you know, even as influencers in media? Because, you know, we're also kind of complicit in the whole thing. You know, we follow what's hot, you know, of course, like, oh, this chef's so hot, this, you know, these cereal pancakes or pancake cereal that's so hot right now, let's capitalize on it. Well, like, let's talk about the things that actually matter and the people that make the system run, you know, and the stories that they're telling and the stories that, you know, their struggles. So I actually, and hopefully I'll be excited to share this with you in a couple of weeks when it comes out. I'm working with the guy on a story about a restaurant in the Bronx that's owned by an undocumented family, you know, and the struggles that they're going through, because they, oh my gosh, Jared, they make the best Oaxacan food I've tried in New York City. You know, I've been to Oaxaca. I had like the great privilege of going there and trying food from cocineras tradicionales, like home cooked food, comida casera. You know, and these people, what they're doing is beautiful, and they've been rated by Michelin. They have a Bib Gourmand. You know, they've been reviewed by Liga Mishan and New York Times Hungry City. But for all the accolades, you know, some of these beautiful restaurants we work with get, you know, they're not receiving any support, you know, because of their undocumented status. And it's similar to you. It's like what you were saying, like, okay, if a PR company is going to come back to a restaurant with the same $5,000 price tag, considering their current situation, that's a huge slap in the face, because I firmly believe who we are now and what we do and how we act during this pandemic and how we display ourselves professionally and socially, that's the brand, and that's who we are going to be moving forward from this. Like, people aren't going to remember. People will remember the good things you did and the bad things you did, you know?
It's times like this, who you truly are, people find out. People know.
Exactly.
Whether it's professionally or personally. The more our restaurant industry grows, the more we grow.
Right. Exactly.
And if we forget that, it's not business as usual.
No.
Right? So if a restaurant opens their doors, they're going to be opening to a new city.
Right.
So they can't open their doors to the old environment. It's not going to work.
Correct.
They need to make change. They need to allow people to understand why people who love to go in, they feel comfortable and safe going back in. PR companies, marketing companies, writers, hosts of shows, influencers, we need to take that same approach. We need to adapt and be much more sensitive to
completely
helping people. Because the fact is, restaurants are not going to make money. They're not making money now, and they're not going to make money for 6 months when they open again.
Exactly.
So let's just support them.
There's such a crucial part in, like, you know,
what do you do about it? Like how are
yeah.
I'm so curious. Someone who writes for all the outlets of PureWow, you know, VinePair, Thrillist, Michelin Guide. How are you going to be able to support restaurants when you know there's going to be a flood of need? And because you're a good person, I know if you could write about everyone, you would, right?
Yeah.
But how do you figure out really who you're going to help?
Honestly, there's several competing factors, and one of them being primarily because, you know, media is facing a huge just rounds and massive layoffs. So you have like former editors of mine who are en masse laid off, freelance and contractor budgets cut. So it's not only like, oh, I have a massive number of voices and people who want their story told reaching out to me in hopes that I'll tell it. It's also for me now on the other end, where can I even tell it? Because we're also facing such like a critical breaking point in media where, because the budgets are cut, stories can't be commissioned. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, do I write this on spec? You know, like, and again, if I write it on spec out of, you know, wanting to do good, I'm also, you know, I heard money is very helpful with things in life, like paying your bills and, you know, food and your rent. But it's also like, okay, do I take on something else that, yes, will make me money, you know, and forego writing this story that would be, you know, that nobody can accept it right now because it's unpaid. So it's a lot of like competing factors. So what I've been really positioning myself during this time, it's given me a lot of clarity, as I've told myself, you know, I'm really only going to write things that I care about, that will be in service of other people, for publications that will pay for it, you know, and I'm going to make sure this story is damn good. So if this one publication doesn't want it, then I'm going to pitch it to somewhere else until this voice finds a home. On the flip side, if nobody, for whatever reason, because of the politics of publicity and press, because, you know, there's a lot of competing factors on there, and considering SEO, what their advertisers think, you know, how sellable is the story to the general public? How clickable is it? Then I put it up on my social media. You know, I've decided, like, you know what, now's the time to stop being scared if people like me or not. Generally, it helps if people like you know, to get your voice. But I thought, you know what, everything else that doesn't have a home on like one of my publications, I'm putting it up on social media, or I'm going to go on a podcast and talk about it, you know, and use our collective resources to amplify our voice, you know, because like we're hurting too. Like, you know, we've already made that abundantly clear. So, but again, it's, you know, for me, I'm hurting, but I know there are people who are hurting even more than I am. So if I can get their voices told.
Yeah, we have a roof over our head. We have food in the fridge. Your fridge is that way. But, you know, there are people struggling. We have food in our fridge. We have roof over our head. We have family and friends that are healthy that we love. Friends and family that love us, you know, that support us.
Totally. You know, I was thinking what you said, and it kind of like brought me back to like, you know, I run like my own like private brand communications agency. You know, the less sexy part that I don't really talk about as a food writer, but that is really part of what sustains me is, you know, I work with restaurant groups and brands, like working on all of their website copy, how they sound, how they present themselves, you know, through the word. And because most of my clients are restaurants, you know, I'm also, haven't lost my purpose. I'm just on a pause. I know it sounds cheesy, but like I've worked with clients and with subjects like, you know, and the money and, you know, even brand sponsorships where it's like, oh, you know, the money is so fantastic, but, you know, your heart is not in it for whatever reason, or there were difficulties along the way. And also that is truly where passion, what Todd Kleiman said, what do you do if what you love doesn't love you back? This is really the do it anyways time. Like right now, it's everyone's passion will have to sustain them to get them through what they really want. And that's where the breakthrough is going to happen. So like even for some of my clients that I'm on temporary pause with, I still do them, like, you know, do very, very light work for them pro bono, because I know they're going to come back and I know they're going to say like, hey, Marisel, like you helped me out during this time. That meant a lot. Like, if you're going to ever say someone's truly family, then like, you know, you got to back it up. So that's also why I'm also, you know, I think when we throw the term family around, it's like, maybe we shouldn't use family, which conflates and confuses a lot of things, but like, let's just be a community. Let's be a community rather than family. Because I think that's also a lot more helpful, because we're like you, Jared, and I, we're obviously not related, but so we're not family, but we are part of the same community. And so like, if we think about it that way, like our community is much bigger than just like a family, which I think in the long run is going to be way more helpful, sustainable, and profitable for everybody if we work together as a community rather than a family.
I think it's important to, and let me know if you disagree, I think it's important to create a community with like-minded people who have the same core values and the same core beliefs. Not in the sense of, oh, I disagree with how to do X, Y, Z, but more of, I believe in doing good and never gaining at the sacrifice of somebody else, which is something I go by. You know, two things is act intelligently to unintelligent treatment and never gain at the sacrifice of somebody else.
I need to write this down. Like I always have like two different like notepads nearby me at all times.
Yeah, me
because
too.
Like, okay. Like you can see my beautiful mind going like right here, because like I am always just like crazy writing stuff.
I'm the worst. Like you could not read what I write.
That's good. So no one will break into the coded system.
Exactly. Just a bunch of ones and zeros.
Yes. I'm curious, do you have like a mantra or like a daily positivity hack that you've been using during quarantine? You're like, I've been doing this one thing and it's really helped.
Yeah. Every day, first of all, I wake up and I have Post-it notes, and I post it behind my bedboard in the bedroom, and I write 3 things that I want to feel that day.
Oh.
Right. And it's one is always stay positive, because even when I end all these episodes, I always say stay positive. And generally it's gratitude. And then the third one will flip, and it could be make someone smile today.
Oh, I love that.
I know it'll make me happy. So even if I'm walking down the street, I'll do like, I know it's like a little taboo. I'll do like a little, like pull it down. I'll just smile, and I could see like someone smiling. I'm like, okay, mission accomplished, check. And for me to have these things that allow me to focus on other people, inspire me. So just making sure that these 3 things that I'm feeling. So I guess if I'm making someone smile, it would be happy, gratitude, and stay positive. But then I would also write down things that I want to do to make people feel good. 3 things. You know, and it could like maybe be like happy, or make sure I call my mom, or make sure I call this one person who I haven't spoken to in a month, and I want to make sure that this person knows I'm thinking about them.
Right.
And really, I do that every day. I
love that. I mean, I personally, I was trying to think like, what's something I do every day that's like positive, and I'm gonna have to do some soul searching, because it's like I have great moments during the day, but I think, you know, for me, it's like when I'm really like behind, like working, I'm like, how am I going to tell this person's story? That's what gives me fuel to my fire. And that's what makes me happy, knowing that like I'm actively working to help tell someone else's story, because they don't have the means or the network or the social presence to tell it themselves. Like that makes me super positive. Also, like even silly things like a cup of coffee, like, cause I think in quarantine, like we're all just looking for these small things that will like totally help us and keep us going as we're slowly reopening. So it's like, okay, I'm going to try this Post-it note, you know, what you're doing, and like see if it helps. Cause like, why not? It hurts, you know, happiness is free.
So you said something earlier about like your voice, like someone's voice being little, or like at one point you felt maybe your voice was little because she didn't have maybe enough reach or exposure on something that you were writing. That resonated and bothered me a little bit, because I also feel like people don't start things. I've watched this. People won't start things because they feel as if it's not going to go anywhere, or it's too small and it's not going to impact enough people. I would never have started Facing Time if I had thought that way. And I really believe that someone's voice is only as little as they allow it to be. Because if you, there's another saying that I think about often, and it's always about you are stronger than you will ever know until you have no choice.
Right.
right? And it kind of goes hand in hand with having that like feeling as if little reach, or but I'm like, you know what? If you have no choice, I bet your ass you'll make it happen. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will make it happen.
I know it sounds all corny and sort of like wax on, wax off-ish, but it's true.
No,
if you totally have no choice, if you need to do something and your life depended on it,
you're going to do. It's either do or die, and
it's never try.
Exactly.
I would rather fail
just do
big.
it. Nike, just do it.
Yeah, I would rather fail big than have never tried at all or never have done it at all.
Absolutely. Because, it's like, what if on the off chance it works out? Or what if on the really on chance it works out? Maybe that's the way we should be thinking about it. Like, it either works or it doesn't.
I never knew Food and City would work out. It was a freaky start that I knew I had something, and then I built upon it. Facing Time, I truly believe with all my heart that somehow Facing Time is going to be amazing, and we're going to grow and have a big reach. I have no idea how, but I don't need to know how. I just need to keep doing it and feel inspired and hopefully lead by example. And that's the whole goal is, utilizing our time, something we value so much, and facing into the future so we can achieve our goals and come out of this time and beyond in a more positive way. And absolutely. If I sat here and thought about, well, how am I going to make this huge? What are all the things I don't know, and what do I have to learn? I would never be here talking to you right now.
Right, exactly. I mean, I reached out to you, everyone, just so everyone knows, like, I reached out to Jared because I was like, wow, I really love what you're doing. So had you not just been like, F it, I'm going to do this, I probably wouldn't have reached out to you. We wouldn't have been having this like very enlightening. And I think it's a really like insightful conversation that hopefully a bunch of, listeners will be, amplifying this voice and this message, and, hopefully posting it on their social media and tweeting it, and, sharing it on Facebook or sharing it with a friend. Because I also think like collectively too, like the biggest power we have as individuals is to share. You like something, and if you see something, share it, credit that person, and like, let's grow it together. Because like even that small action, like going to vote or, filling out your census, like, yeah, it might seem like, to your point, like, oh, my voice is so little, but like collectively, like we can get heard. So like, even you just inspired me right now. I was like, you know what? Right. She's right. My voice isn't that little. Like, it's going to grow. And if I think it's little, then I'm going to stop myself.
You're a rock star. Your articles in Michelin Guide, what you do with Thrillist and Alice at PureWow. You're just, you're humble.
Thank you.
So,
I'm going to tell my mom that after this, actually. Like, I was told something really nice today.
Well, mystery question.
Oh, okay.
Have you thought of one?
Related.
Okay. So the mystery question is one question I ask you, one question you ask me, but we don't know what it's going to be. It could be anything and everything. It could be something that you already thought of. It could be something that, did I tell you about the mystery question?
No, that's why I'm so surprised.
Sorry.
It's been such a mystery, the mystery question.
This is hilarious. So usually I'd say, okay, you're my guest. You want to go first, but I'll ask first because I guess you have no idea what you're going to ask me. And if you don't think about it, if you don't know, it's fine.
Okay.
Where is the first place? It's a silly question, but where is the first place that you would love to go eat when they're fully reopened?
Oh, that is so good. I've been like very well known for saying like I'm a food writer that hates pizza, which is not exactly true. I'm just extremely selective about my pizzas. And like there's like 3 in the world that I'll eat. And one, it's from this like famous piazzolo in Caiazzo, Italy. And the second one is Da Michele Antica Pizzeria in Naples and in London. But the third is actually in our beautiful home of New York City. And it's by Anthony Mangieri. It's Una Pizza Napoletana. I've been dying to get.
This is not the place in Williamsburg, is it?
No, Una Pizza Napoletana. It's with Jeremiah Stone and Fabian Von Husk as well. They do like the app. It's in Nolita, like Nolita E area. It's kind of like where the Lower East Side.
That's where we'll get pizza together.
Oh my gosh, Jared, that is exactly where I'll go. I will go sit down, have a beautiful glass of red wine, some apps, along with like my pizza at Una Pizza Napolitana. Beautiful.
I love
Dang
pizza.
it. Is it cheating? Is it cheating if I ask you the same question?
Not at all. So I think where I would want to go I love ramen. And there's a place in Greenpoint called Ramen Spot on Manhattan.
Ramen Spot?
Ramen Spot. And it's one of my favorite ramen. And it's this spicy, just really spicy ramen. I don't remember everything in it, but it is so good. And one of the first places I'm going to go, because for me, ramen or really good, authentic Italian pizza, for example, because that's what you said, you can't deliver it. It's just not the same. And I don't know if you know this, I'm actually an ambassador for the Italy American Chamber of Commerce.
Shut the door.
I go to Italy. I go to Italy often, and I learn about authentic Italian cuisine and its ingredients and POD and PGI and all this stuff, and where from the region certain things are. And then I talk about it here and how you can find authentic Italian cuisine and how do you know something's authentic. It doesn't mean that it's not good if it's not authentic, but if you want something from a specific region, or you want to buy olive oil or cheese that's from its region of origin, that's where basically I come in and I talk about it. But
I love that.
Ramen, 100%.
I wrote it down too, like Ramen Spot, spicy ramen, to be like, okay, cool. I want to try that too. Like as soon as it reopens, that would be great.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I could literally just talk. What?
I love this question. I want to ask it to other people too. Get their
So you have a meeting any minute.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Why is it that you were late and now you're kicking me off?
I'm the worst, Jared. Oh my gosh.
No, you're a rock star.
Oh gosh.
So, Marisel Salazar on Instagram. Yes. Thank you for joining another Facing Time conversation with me, Jared, and Marisel. And I can't wait for this to go up. And what do I always end with? Stay positive.
Stay positive.